Hello, hello! It is the end of the campaign. It is time to build my last final Titan there to utilize the Death Ray. The Death Beam, whatever the hell it's called. The only problem is, I already did that recording there yesterday from when I did this. And the thing is, I forgot to turn on the audio. So I've been talking to myself for about an hour or so, trying to build my Titan there, and it turns out none of it has any audio to really upload and really demonstrate what the heck I was doing. So that is pretty awkward, needless to say. And I almost had like a perfect let's play run, essentially, of this campaign without really having to scrap any videos in that. And then we get to building the Titan after we're done the actual campaign, and we get the little hitch. So that is unfortunate. So what I'm going to do in that case is I'm going to backtrack a little bit there. I'm going to show you the Titan I made. I'm going to talk about all the nuance with it, and we're going to spend a little time to test it out, essentially, because to be perfectly honest, I kind of cut the video short there because, heck, there's no opportunity to really try it there because the Cordrazine and all the other factions are dead. We're on good terms with the remaining races, the Polyps and the Karate, and I don't really want to go to war with them. So I cut that video short without really truly optimizing it, so this is kind of a rare opportunity to do that. So, without further ado, I am going to show you my Titan. And first off, I'm going to have to explain my thought process here on the name of my Titan. You see, we have a little MVP battleship here who's single-handedly managed to somehow destroy an entire armada by itself. It started off as a Hercules Beetle Mark II here, with the emphasis on antimatter cannons for its main frontal, main ship damage, with lots of lasers as auxiliary support. And even though half its weaponry was useless there because I ran out of ammo from it being wasted, expended on a bunch of fighters all the time against the Raleigh Technocracy, it had to do the entire fight with just his laser cannons there, and it managed to succeed. And that ship, of course, was Garlon here, which I already spent plenty of time upgrading and refitting this special ship, and it is still a fearsome ship, even though it's been made obsolete to an extent due to Locust and the other Titans there. But because of what I just said there, I felt it was ideal to give Garlon a proper upgrade. Meet the Garlon Omega. And where the inspiration came for this name, I was browsing around for different names like beetle gods, beings of sorts, and unfortunately, Capri was like the only actual beetle god that I came to find, and of course that name was already taken. I had no way, I didn't really have any real names from Earth lore, essentially, to draw from. I tried looking around for names on video game characters to match it, and when I was browsing around Metroid Prime there, a Nintendo video game I definitely had fond memories of, I realized that Metroid 2 there, where you Samus's Return, which essentially is all one boss there, but the trick they did with that is that they had different variations of the same kind of Metroid boss there, and they called it Zeta, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and finally the mightiest of the form was Omega. So while it may not be the most original type of way to name it there, I think it felt appropriate as a means to upgrade Garlon into a fearsome Titan. And this is what I got with Garlon. So let me explain my thought process a little bit there. Because what I originally did was have only 5 of these Death Rays on here, and I actually did upgrade them to an extreme amount there. I tried upgrading everything, all these different additions to it there. I gave it Overload, I gave it Range Extend, as well as the Arc and Rapid Fire. I only went with 5 of them at first there, and made the rest basically lasers and lots of power capacitors to kind of like handle the load. And what I found, unfortunately, was that these depth rays are heavy as hell in the scenario editor. So poor Garolon was going incredibly slow in comparison to the other ships, which is definitely what I was not used to. So I had to tweak it around a bit there. A lot of the mass was cut down when I got rid of the overload and the radiant extend, so it is actually more mobile than it was before, if only a small amount, I think. Although a lot more tweaking is still going to have to be done there. A little more optimization has to be done, and I also had the soft process of the particle capacitors there, seeing as these are actually considered like beam weapons of the sorts, massive versions of the beam weapons. I thought, since these particle capacitors have basically cut down the reload time in half, you would think. I'm assuming, but I don't know. Actually, I already do know that they do impact it, maybe a small extent there. I think I may have to experiment with that a bit more now that I think of it. Because I was playing around with a bunch of these capacitors and I tried to get a good optimal feel with like the ship, but because I had a point where I had a bunch of different like particle capacitors on the side there, as well as like the, what is it called there? The high energy focus there. I'm trying to do that as well, considering it's like a beam weapon. And it did not show any of the upgrades there for the beam weapons, but to be fair, none of my actual beam weapons like the phases actually showed that upgrade as well, so it was really hard to know if it actually would affect the death ray or not with these particle capacitors. So that may be something I still will experiment with here. It's got all the usual defensive slots here. It's got a crap ton of class 3 shields in the middle. It's got dual capacitor shields on the side there. The original version of Garolon actually had 4 of these things on the side, but it didn't really have the mobility or it didn't seem like much of the firepower. Not to mention the fact I had to fight all 3 of my Trinity Titans there at once, so suffice to say, it got brutally murdered, unfortunately there. So that was no contest for poor little Garolon. But I ranted enough here. I gave you plenty of time to look at it here. We got plenty of power capacitors, essentially to handle the high demands that are going to be made of this ship here. Actually, I have enough power capacitors to really handle all of it as it is right now, as well as the energy. So I'm just going to give you a first-hand look at what its current iteration is, and I think I'm going to test it a little bit more to optimize it. Because I'm trying to figure out how to make this ship work, but like I said, I kind of stopped halfway through because it seems kind of pointless to drag on the video too long. But since I kind of have to do a double take here, I get a nice opportunity to test it out. So with that said, I am going to play around with a couple of beetles and that. I'm not gonna go easy on this ship. I'm really gonna seriously test it out. And first off, you notice there, as I said before, it is kind of slow, noticeably slower. And those are death rays in action there. It's not exactly the most potent type of weapon. Damn, it's of course, like I said, slowing down as well too, due to close proximity of these ships. It's got like, what is it? 7 death rays there, and it's already melted right through one of those horns there, which is definitely respectable durability there. I just want to watch the rate of fire on this thing once it stops spinning around on me. Jesus. Even with its slower speed, it's still being stubborn with its controls. Like trying to steer a mule in a sense. A mule that is like the size of orbital satellites or asteroids in a sense. It is a massive warship there. I don't know what its actual scale size would be, to be honest. I would love to think this is the size of like a small moon in a sense, although the scale wouldn't signify that. I'd be willing to believe it, but we have no way to get a good scale of it, to be honest. So Nonetheless, these things are massive. They're basically mobile battle stations, for lack of a better term. That much is obvious there. We still got to burn right through these thorn beetles there. Hopefully my point defense weapons are... well, my point defense weapons didn't have any luck destroying the torpedoes, it seems. But I think it's safe to say I am at no risk of losing this fight. Although I am having a hard time shooting down those torpedoes, which is kind of a nuisance. And of course, it's actually hitting my shields before it gets close enough, which is actually a subtle factor too. See, it's hitting my shields there, my lasers aren't even having a chance to shoot it even. Which is kind of interesting. Yeah, I think it's safe to say I don't want to drag it too long there, because apparently it's taking its time killing that there. But that's the initial test there. I had really high expectations for that ship at first there. I want to just murder everything, no matter how strong it was in like single salvos, and of course, my expectations were easily slapped down when I had to fight against Locust and Kepri at the same time. It did not go well. But I think one of my first optimizations I want to try is to actually maybe cut down the rapid fire and try the particle capacitors to see if that will help offset the rapid fire and make it that much lighter in the process, because mobility is still going to be a huge factor. Because these are only 4 tons compared to however much tonnage these depth rays are going to be once I cut these components down. Let's see, I don't think, let me try without the rapid fire. Yeah, that's 25 tons I would assume. I'm going to assume anyway, because it doesn't give an actual number. And that cuts down a lot of tonnage there. And if these particle capacitors work as I think they would, these will easily offset it. Maybe that's a bit overkill, mind you, but I could easily store these capacitors here and get the extra energy on the side. Because the power capacitors don't really care where they go there, but the particle capacitors is picky as hell, needless to say. So I think that's good enough there. It's like 500 for each, so yeah, that's easily enough power. Question is, speed is tremendous improvement from doing that, I gotta say. Cutting off 2 of those as well as like lightening the load, so that's actually a significant improvement. Almost to the point that I want to try and get rid of the arc extend on it as well, if I'm being honest, but we'll work on that a little bit more. Only thing is it lacks its firepower now. It's heavy punch. But I guess I'm okay with that to an extent. I am just wondering now if I want to go back to the, the quad canopy shields. And if I do, where the hell could I put them? Well, I guess I could take out these laser batteries here, because I don't need them as much. But of course, it's not going to have nearly as much power, but it's going to have a hell of a lot of durability. I easily just doubled the canopy shield strength, and that's 150,000. So that's almost a little bit under 4 class 3 shields, needless to say. So 2 of them alone basically just made the canopy shield is equal to all these class 3 shields. That is a lot of power. Although it lost a lot of extra damage there, but the laser batteries aren't all that significant to begin with, to be perfectly honest, so... And what I found out is that torpedoes don't really matter all that much either, so... I could just put a couple laser cannons there to help keep its damage potential up. And I gotta say, I really enjoy the lasers. Heck, I can even... Well, I don't want to remove the overload and all that, because having them as powerful as they can be is still important for a ship. So I think I want to keep it like that. And I think I want to cut that out because that leaves me with a ton of power to utilize too. Only question is, what do I want to throw in there? I don't want to actually throw phasers in there because I'm worried that it'll actually negatively impact the death rays potential. Don't know if I want to do that. And of course, I'm in the scenario editor as well, so that's gonna limit my options a little bit. But you know what? I think that may be all I want to do. I'm just gonna put the dark matter reactors back on, and we'll test it as is, and see how the damage potential is. The only unfortunate side is there. Like I said, I would love to have a bunch of death rays on this thing to kind of make it have ridiculous firepower. It's got the cost to justify it, at least, but does it have the damage potential? I think I already know for a fact it's gonna beat Locust here, because it's got double the canopy shields and it has those death rays that constantly fire. But I am curious to see how those particle capacitors work. There's almost no pause there, so those are gonna fire constantly. Well, I think so anyway. Let's see, there's 5 right there. Let's see what the rate of fire is. Yeah, it's firing constantly. There's only 5 of them, remember, so I can visually see pretty much every one of them firing non-stop, so that's what I'm mainly watching. So, what I want to do now, I think, is get rid of those particle capacitors after the fight to see if it actually impacts it further, because if it doesn't, that just means it gives me more space to kind of rearrange for maybe more death rays on the side. And I think it's safe to say Locust is going to handily beat Locust here. Considering the canopy shields just went down now, that's 500,000 damage it looks like according to that shield there. And Locust is about to meet its maker. So it can handily beat Locust there, but like I said, I want to test the particle capacitors. I want to see if there's a noticeable change in how it fires. Actually, let me go to the shipyard first now that I think of it. What I'm going to do is straight up remove them there. Keep it simple, and we'll be able to notice the difference easily. And it'll give us a good opportunity to see if Locust can win this time or not. Because that'll be interesting if those particle capacitors alone are what causes Locust to win. Although we're going to notice the difference right away if it does happen. It's hard to say there, because the firing is not consistent, like there's not always a beam firing here. It seems a little bit slower, I'm just not sure if it is or not. It looks like it's the same. Like I said, the position is not consistent, so I guess we'll know if the Garrelon takes more noticeable damage. I guess that would be the main test. Because this is going to be definitely slow, just watching 2 Titans stand there shoot at each other. It's like, it's watching 2 people slap each other to see who gives up first, quite frankly. So yeah, it looks like everything is pretty consistent. It looks like the particle capacitors didn't really do anything. It's almost an exact mirror, if I were to say. So I think those particle capacitors can go. Fortunately, that means I have 2 options available to me here. I can go with the rapid fire on each of them there, or add 2 more death rays. And mobility is going to be important there to me, or I find it's going to be important. Because I would like that arc extend as well if possible. But I care about the damage potential of these death rays more. So, because It's gonna be function just like Capri in a sense there, cause what? These null field cannons don't even, yeah, they're overloaded and they have rapid fire, so they essentially have the tiniest possible weapon arc. Oh, to the point where you can't actually see it because of how big the front area is. But I see it just barely the red highlight there, so it's not the most convenient, sadly. Unless there's a way it can show me. Nope, it won't show me. Alright. But we got something to work with here. Oh wait. I didn't save it? I don't think I saved it. That is dumb of me. Alright, let's try this again, damn it. Oh boy. Not only did I mess up the last record of this, but now I'm messing up just the refitting there. Alright, I'm gonna make this one quick though, at least, because we'll be able to know. Well, ideally I would like to make it quick. Unless by chance it's very noticeable. Well, yeah, that still looks the same there, so I'm just gonna skip through this then and see how the damage result looks at the end of it. Alright, there we are again. It seemed pretty consistent, so now I need to really check and make sure I actually did it right this time.